What is happening, everybody? It is Trey here. I'm joined again by my dad Sean, and today on Reactions to the Classics, we are up to the Beatles' classic album Abbey Road in our journey of listening to the Beatles discography in chronological order. We are to the end.
We're to the end. It's very sad.
If this is your first time joining us, y'all, we appreciate you stopping by. Here at Reactions to the Classics, we take a look back at some of the most classic records of all time and review them in a detailed track-by-track format. Just like today, it's usually our first time hearing the album in full. We make sure to listen to the album multiple times to get a good feel for it and give you guys a great review. So if that sounds like something interesting to you, be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. And if you'd like to connect with us more, we got a link to our Facebook group down below, as well as our Patreon, where we have some exclusive videos and perks if y'all would like to support us. And all that to say, let's dive into it, man.
All right, this thing was released in September 1969. It is the 11th of 12 original UK albums. However, it was made last. It was made after the Get Back / Let It Be sessions. It also has a two-sided hit single with Something and Come Together. Sold over 30 million copies to make it one of the Beatles' greatest selling albums and one of the greatest selling albums of all time. In the UK, it was #1 for 17 weeks, 12 weeks at #1 in the US.
And this is more a back to basic rock album like they wanted with Let It Be. It also incorporates blues, progressive rock, some different genres spliced in there, and it features prominent use of the newly invented Moog synthesizer as well as the Leslie speaker. And there wasn't as much disharmony as there was in those early Let It Be Get Back sessions that were at Twickenham Studios, though there still was some disagreements, of course, here and there. And in September, John privately left the band, and then in April of '70, McCartney made it public that he had left the band and the Beatles were officially disbanded.
The way this thing came about, McCartney called up George Martin and said, hey, let's run this back again. Let's do it like we used to do it. Just get in there. Not a bunch of studio effects, let's just do it the right way. Martin said, I'll produce it if you'll do it like you did it in the old days, and everybody will get in there and get to work, and especially John.
Lennon and McCartney enjoyed working together in April of '69 on the Ballad of John and Yoko, and some of that friendly camaraderie went right into these Abbey Road sessions, but disagreements really arose, especially since Yoko was constantly in the studio, kind of grating on McCartney and Harrison.
Lennon wanted all the songs to not really tie together, and Martin and Paul wanted to do a little bit of thematic stuff. So they had a compromise. The last part of the album is 8 songs, 16-minute medley that Martin and McCartney put together. McCartney says he did it all. Martin said I had a little bit to do with it because I wanted to get John and Paul, quote, serious about their music again. Later on, imagine this, John didn't like the medley, said it was more of Paul's granny blank music and that it didn't really go together and it was junk. But it is a nice way to compromise. Lennon wanted side A to be all his songs, side B to be all McCartney's, but I'm glad they didn't do it that way.
Yeah, I'm glad they mixed it up.
Trey, I'm gonna let you cover the iconic album cover.
And it's gotta be the most famous or one of the most famous album covers.
I would think so, most famous.
Of all time, and this was designed by McCartney. They went to the crosswalk that was just right outside EMI Studios on Abbey Road.
Yeah, 11:35 in the morning. The police tell him, you got 10 minutes. We're shutting the road down. They put the photographer up on a ladder. He takes 6 pics. That's it. McCartney decides which one later on by looking with a magnifying glass. I will say it's the only album cover of theirs in the UK that neither had their name nor the name of the album. At EMI, they come back and they say, well, it's not going to sell well because nobody knows who they are.
It's the Beatles,
It's the most famous band in the world. Come on, and obviously it didn't affect the sales any. Well, first up, Come Together, sung by Lennon, written primarily by Lennon. Number 202 on the Rolling Stones top 500 songs of all time. And he wrote this, Trey, for Timothy Leary, who was running for governor of California against Ronald Reagan, future President Ronald Reagan. And his campaign motto was come together. He knew John, he asked him to write it.
You hear the phrase shoot me at the start of the song and interpoled throughout, and that is accompanied by McCartney's tremendous bass work and some clapping, some great fills by Ringo here. I just think this is a fantastic way to start off the record. Probably their best album opener. We were both familiar with this track,
of course,
coming into it, and I just think that this is the best produced album that the Beatles have had, and also the best bass work by Paul and drumming work by Ringo in their entire catalog. And you can see that already on display in this opening track.
Yeah, it's a banger, man. This thing it starts and it's just boom, here we go, strap in. One of my favorite fast tempo songs of the Beatles. Interestingly, Lennon actually got sued on this thing by the company that controlled Chuck Berry's songs. We settled out of court, and, it worked out, and we got more info on that and are digging deeper. We don't got time to get into it now.
And talk about going from one classic to another. We go right from Come Together into Something by George Harrison, number 278 on Rolling Stone's top 500 songs, and it also won the Novello Award for Best Song Musically and Lyrically for the year 1969.
Lennon and Martin called it the best song on the album. Originally, he said he wrote it for Pattie Boyd, his then wife. Later on, he says that he wrote it for a Hindu god or God himself. Who knows? I think when you divorce your wife and you get with another woman, you're probably going to distance yourself from that, but just tremendous. You know it immediately. The guitar work in there by Harrison is tremendous. Great solo. Because it's an understated, slower song, I think the guitar solo sometimes gets lost.
Lyrically, fantastic. It just climaxes towards the end with some more fast-paced guitar work, asking questions, will my love grow? I don't know. He's essentially telling her, if we stick it out, stick together, we'll see what happens. And
I don't know if it can grow any more than it already is.
Exactly.
It's kind of open to interpretation.
And I think that's one of the reasons it's such a fantastic song. But what a way for Harrison to kick off his Abbey Road contribution.
Out of Maxwell's Silver Hammer from McCartney. This song made me laugh. Because when I first listened to it, I wasn't paying that much attention to the lyrics. It's got this little upbeat kind of like...
It's almost like that music hall that Paul likes
to do. Yeah, it's just
like,
oh yeah. And then you listen to the lyrics. It's about a medical student named Maxwell that kills 3 different people with a silver hammer inside the song. He also drove the other Beatles nuts because he kept working on it over and over because he wanted to make it a single. Some critics and experts say if you want to point to one song that was kind of the ideal of why they broke up, it was this one. Later on, Starr, Harrison, Lennon, they all said how much they hated this particular song because they had to work on it for so long.
I'm with you, Sean. I enjoyed this.
It's so catchy. Bang, bang.
I've heard a lot of people say this is their least favorite track, but I like the upbeat nature to it. He's still at large to this day, I hear.
Yeah, so. I don't think they've found him yet.
But great track. That'll lead us to another McCartney track, Oh Darling. This is in the more doo-wop style, and McCartney said he would actually come in for a week straight really early in the morning and sing it by himself because his voice was initially too clear for what he wanted to portray on the track. This is one of Paul's more powerful vocals in the entire Beatles discography. I enjoyed it, though it's simple lyrically. He's just got that power in his voice that enthralled me.
Yeah, I enjoyed it as well. I think it could have fit maybe better on one of the earlier offerings. Paul spent a lot of time on the vocals on this thing, and it shows. It's very, very powerful. Now we're up to Octopus's Garden, written by Richard Starkey. Harrison helped him out a little bit on this thing, and Harrison even said, hey, it's a Ringo song. You did a really good job. It's only the second song he's ever written.
Yeah, and this was inspired by a 1968 trip when Ringo was on a boat and the captain told him of how octopuses, go at the bottom of the sea and kind of make their way of life, and then that just sparked the inspiration for the song. This had a very lush texture to it. I thought the guitar work was fantastic. Ringo laid down a great vocal performance. This would be up there with a little help from my friends for my favorite Ringo track.
He said the hidden meaning behind it a little bit is they're under the sea and they're hiding out in their garden, and that he would like to do that as well because things were very tense.
Get away from that spotlight.
Exactly.
But, good offering from Ringo's final Beatles track.
Well, the inside A, we have I Want You, in parentheses, She's So Heavy, sung by Lennon, written by Lennon. It's unusual in a couple ways for Beatles songs. It's nearly 8 minutes long. It only has 14 words. It's mainly just the song title over and over.
Yeah, and Lennon wrote this for Yoko, and this was one of the best tracks of just like instrumentally, the guitars.
The guitars are unreal.
That bass line, ooh, so fantastic. And you even have some guitar work in here that reminded me of Santana.
Yes.
And it just kind of shifted tempos and styles throughout the song, and it culminates towards the end of 3 minutes, just an instrumental where it goes through riffs again, plays around with that, and white noise builds up and then just abruptly stops. Lennon wanted that.
Yeah, he did. It's where you would think, you look at your device or your record player, whatever you're playing on, and go, what's wrong? Because it just literally stops.
You have that heaviness, and then we go into the lightheartedness of side B, Here Comes the Sun.
Written by Harrison, sung by Harrison. It was written at Eric Clapton's house, and he wrote this for two things. One, the Beatles, what we haven't talked about, they're running Apple Corps at the time, their own company, and they had all kinds of issues with it because they weren't business guys, they're musicians. And so he wanted to get away from that, so he was playing truant at Clapton's house, and also just to get away from everything going on kind of in the Beatles. And literally, Here Comes the Sun. It was coming off a long England winter, and so he's outside and the sun's on. Just a tremendous feel-good song. You hear this song and it just kind of lifts your spirits.
Oh, absolutely. It even features the Moog synthesizer, which Harrison introduced to the band because he got an early model of it, led by his acoustic guitar, and the song just lifts you up. The lyrics really detail how the sun's coming out, the ice is melting away, haven't seen it in years. You know what, now the sun's out. To have this and Something by him on the same record.
Yeah, I actually like this better than Something. I know I'm in the minority there, but it's like, you know,
yeah,
I mean, it's very, very close. But great message, because we all go through that in life. There's dark times, but if we just stick with it, the sun does come back out. That brings us to Because, written by Lennon, sung by Lennon, McCartney, and Harrison. One of those rare things where all three are attributed with the singing. He wrote this while Yoko was playing Beethoven's Moonlight Sonata on the piano. He was laying on the couch on his house. I said, "Can you play those chords backwards?" She does. He goes in and writes Because. Hey, it's how the Beatles did things.
Yeah, and going back to those harmonies, there's a lot more of those awesome harmonies in this record than there had been on
in a while.
Yeah, and so I like that we threw that back, because that is the calling card of their early work.
Yeah, full circle, man.
Exactly, and they actually triple tracked this to make it sound like there's 9 voices, so that's why the voices sound so powerful, almost angelic-like, just like we're in, I don't even know what, but they sound awesome, and it starts with a harpsichord that Martin's actually on, so we have a lot of unique instrumental
Everybody's getting involved like the old days.
And this was actually McCartney and Harrison's favorite track on Abbey Road as well.
This brings us to the medley that we talked about at the beginning. It's 8 songs, 16 minutes, thought up by Martin and McCartney. Let's kick this thing off.
Yeah, we start this off with You Never Give Me Your Money, which was actually the first song recorded for this medley. Paul wrote this with the difficulties financially and just personally that he was going through, as well as a lot of the other guys. And if you look at the lyrics and dissect them, you can see where he's coming from.
It's a really good track. It's almost 4 minutes long, so it's
Yeah,
very long for this medley.
No, but I enjoyed it. Again, the instrumentation here, the production is very clean, crisp, and everybody's at the top of their game.
They are.
And that transitions us into John's track, Sun King.
It was written by Lennon, sung again, lush vocal, multi-tracked harmonies by Lennon, McCartney, Harrison. They got a little romance language.
Yeah, you have Portuguese, Spanish.
In the last 3 lines, yeah, what a weird thing that they were just messing around and threw in there, Lennon said.
This was one of my favorite parts of the medley, definitely John's finest work in the medley portion of the album. I like the lush, more stripped back, chilled out vibe to the song compared to the more upbeat opening track. And then that takes us into Lennon's second track in the medley, Mean Mr. Mustard. This is talking about a mean old man who likes to shove money up his nose, be stingy with it, and it's like a minute and some change long.
Yeah, this thing was written by Lennon in India, kind of when he wrote a lot of the White Album stuff. It was recorded as one continuous piece with the previous track, which takes us right into Polythene Pam, which he also wrote.
Yeah, and he mentioned Polythene Pam in Mean Mr. Mustard. So again, these segue so expertly together. Again, a short track talking about she's a good-looking woman, but she's dressed in drag, essentially. She looks like a man, so an interesting subject matter.
Yeah, for me it was fine. It's just another thing that fits into the story.
Yeah, if I had to choose, Mean Mr. Mustard and Polythene Pam would be the two, weakest portions of the medley, but even so, it fits with the grand portion of of the track, and then it transitions us right into She came through the bathroom window.
Yeah, and the story of this, McCartney wrote it. He sings it, and it's literally about, they had these things they called Apple Scruffs after their company. They would hang out outside the company. They would hang out outside Abbey Road, but they'd also hang outside everybody's houses. It's a different time, guys. Paul would go walk his dog outside his house, and they'd walk along beside him, and he actually got to know a lot of them. So he was gone, and they knew he was gone because they saw him leave, and they saw a ladder outside his window of his house and his bathroom window halfway open. So one of the girls, she crawled through the window, let the other ones in. They took a bunch of his pictures, some of his clothes. That's kind of what this is about. I like it. It's pretty strong musically.
Again, we have those laid-back Paul vocals. This was a strong track, both lyrically and musically, and that'll take us into one of Paul's best works in his entire Beatles catalog.
100% with you there.
Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, in the end medley here. And this starts off with a nice, lighthearted piano. Almost reminded me of Oh Darling's vocal performance.
Top 3 for me as far as vocal performance.
And Paul based the track off of a 1600s poem called Cradle Song. He was at visiting his sister's house, and on the piano he came across it. He wrote the music surrounding some of the lyrics, and that's what we get here. Just a fantastic track. I think that the message was good, and I'll sing you a lullaby.
That's great.
And then we go into now you're gonna carry that weight. Again, another fantastic track in this medley, talking essentially about, I think, every Beatle in general, how they're going to carry the weight of everything that they did, both good and bad, for the band, and that's going to permeate into the rest of their lives.
They'll never be able to top it, and they all knew it, the heaviness of the Beatles. No one's ever topped it, no one ever will.
I think that was something that was weighing heavily on them, along with the financial issues that having to carry that weight. And then that takes us into the end, and this was a really upbeat type of a track as well, and I enjoyed it because we have solos from every member of the group.
Yeah, even Ringo did a solo, and they had to really talk him into it because Ringo never wanted to do a solo because he didn't want to call attention to himself. He just wanted to compliment whoever was singing at the time. They actually put 12 microphones around his drums. It sounds fantastic. I'm glad they talked him into it.
Then we have just some short guitar solos from Paul, George, and John. They wanted to end the song on a very philosophical type of message, so we end with the famous great line, in the end, the love you take is equal to the love you make. And I interpreted that as that the Beatles took all this love from all these people, and previously in the chorus they just kept saying love you, and then they took that love and tried to re-put that love out there to everybody through the music that they made. And I think they did that and showed that throughout their careers, and what a fantastic way to kind of wrap up their career.
I agree, and it was supposed to be the end, and to me it is.
Yeah.
But they just threw a little hidden track, one of the first examples of a hidden track in rock music, 14 seconds after the song's over. So if you turn off your device or pick up the stylus too soon, you're going to miss it. Is a track called Her Majesty. It was supposed to be earlier on in the medley. It's only 23 seconds long. It's the shortest Beatles song ever. It's about the Queen. For me, it's fine. It's just something thrown in there, kind of a little fun gem thrown in at the end.
Yeah, I'd agree with you. It was fun, kind of just back to the roots. Only Paul's on it, just talking about love. We've reached the end. Let's go through our favorite track.
Golly, there's a lot of them. Here Comes the Sun. I like the medley. I like the Golden Slumbers, Carry That Weight, Come Together.
Something, George's tracks were really fire, and in the medley portion, I pretty much liked all of it. Really liked Sun King.
What are you going to give this thing?
It had the best opener, I think, on any Beatles record. Had 2 of the best 3 George Harrison tracks. McCartney was on fire. I don't think he had any duds in here at all. I really enjoyed Because and Sun King from Lennon's contributions, and then that from Golden Slumbers through to the end, I just thought was fantastic. Couple that with their final send-off, final message, and having the most iconic album cover.
Uh-oh, what's he going to give me?
It's got to be a 10 out of 10 for me. Right up there with anything that they've done. They went out, I think, on the highest note a band could go out with. So for me, it's got to get that full 10 out of 10.
Well, I'm close, but I'm not quite at a 10. I'm at a 9.75. This thing took longer to grow on me than some of the others. Just, there's a little interesting stuff in the medley and side B. Obviously, I really like it's 9.75. It's just short for me. Wow, the last full original album. We're still going to do some other stuff. We're going to do some past masters, and we're going to do a few of the solo projects of each of the guys. But man, it has been an unbelievable ride, and I am very sad that this part of it is over.
The Beatles definitely not only live up to the hype, but surpass.
No one will ever be them. No. There's no way, because they were pioneers in so many areas. Nobody in the history of mankind will ever achieve close to what they achieved. I truly believe that, and I would challenge
in today's world.
Yeah, it just doesn't. There's no way to have that kind of innovate. They're just unbelievable, man.
Yeah, so it's been a wonderful journey. As always, Dad, appreciate the research for not only this record, but all the records.
It's going to be sad, kind of like losing a friend.
Yeah, and to all of y'all, just want to say thank you so much for everybody that's come on, just minutes or hours after we upload these, and has, given your thoughts on the record, followed us on the journey. Hope you continue to stick around as we continue to delve into more records by more bands and more Beatles stuff.
And we're going to do some fun stuff. We're going to finally be able to rank the best albums, and we're going to rank their 100 best songs, which that might take you and me a while to hammer out. So look for that somewhere down the road.
Exactly. I'm excited for it. Let us know in the comments below, y'all, what you think of Abbey Road, your favorite tracks, where would you rank it in their catalog, and be sure to hit that big red subscribe button. We upload twice a week, a variety of genres, and until next time, y'all, happy listening. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time.